overwhelmingly people support it. And that's why you've lost this war. And that's why ultimately you're going to face the consequences, because the Strait of Hormuz is shut. And it's because of your policies and the policies of your overlords in Washington that the global economy is going to go downhill. And Iran is going to continue to hammer U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf because of this unprovoked aggression.
What you're about to watch is one of those rare interviews where the entire dynamic changes in real time. Professor Mohammad Marandi walks into what was supposed to be a routine Western media exchange, but instead of following the expected script, he pushes back hard and forces the conversation into completely uncomfortable territory. The interviewer clearly comes in expecting control of the discussion, but the moment the questions start getting challenged directly, the tone shifts fast. By the end of the exchange, the balance of the interview feels completely different from where it started, and the tension becomes impossible to ignore. Watch this clip all the way through, and I'll give you my thoughts at the end. And if you enjoy these real breakdowns and honest commentary, make sure you subscribe.
If they try to do anything on the ground, then they'll really see what we can do. You messed with the wrong country. Your propaganda doesn't work anymore. And the Iranian people have shown their resolve. They'll see this through.
Iran launched attacks on Israel last night, killing 2 in Tel Aviv. Those strikes were revenge for the death of one of Iran's most senior leaders, Ali Larijani. America, meanwhile, says it has bombed missile sites in Iran that threatened the Strait of Hormuz. The internet in Iran has been down for more than 3 weeks, so it's difficult to talk to opponents of the regime inside the country, but we can now speak to someone who is supportive. Professor Mohammad Marandi is a professor of English literature at the University of Tehran, and he joins us now from Iran. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you give us the sort of perspective on what it's like there at the moment? It's often difficult for us to speak to people inside Iran.
Well, it's difficult for you to speak to people inside Iran because you're helping the United States carpet the country or regime deeply involved in the murder of people. So the internet is down because for international use, you can use Iranian websites in Iran and Iranian apps. But because the United States uses it to use cameras, the Israeli regime uses people's cameras to strike targets inside the country, they're forced to do that. And I use, because it belongs to a studio in Iran. You asked me to be on your show, and I came on your show. So it's because of aggression and murder and death and destruction that your governments bring about that this is the situation.
I mean, the death of Ali Larijani has been hailed by America and by Israel as a significant turning point in this conflict. What has your response been to that?
Well, all you have to do is go and see what people are doing on the streets every night. There are millions of people on the streets every night in Tehran and tens of millions across the country. They rally in support of the armed forces, in support of the Constitution, in support of the leader, in support of the state. And in fact, your government, and this is something that Western media has hid from the public, obviously, because they're Epstein class controlled. But during a major rally in Tehran on Friday, where people were on the streets, they fired missiles at the people. And the woman was killed.
Who fired missiles at people on the streets of Tehran?
The U.S.-Israeli jets that fired missiles, they fired it at the demonstrators. You didn't even know this because your media outlets won't tell you. But they fired on people. And I tweeted this. I tweeted maybe 10 different tweets. People across the world have seen it. In the West, of course, it's because you have censorship there extensively more than the rest of the world. And you're heavily propagandized. You don't see this. But your regimes help the U.S. bomb demonstrators.
Ali Larijani was responsible for the deaths of many thousands of people inside Iran who wanted to protest legitimately against the regime. Tens of thousands of people have been killed in the last couple of months. America and Israel say it was right to target him because of those deaths.
Well, that's your regime propaganda. And of course, you're pro-regime.
Well, no, I'm asking
that
you.
is a lie.
I'm asking you.
I'm
I'm asking you straightforward
speaking.
questions, and I am asking you a question which
patience.
relates to the deaths of tens of thousands of protesters.
Don't be cowardly. Let me answer. Those 3,117 people who were killed, it's your responsibility and the responsibility of your regimes, because you sent terrorists and gave them weapons to slaughter hundreds of police officers and countless people on the streets in order to create armed insurrection.
What proof do you have of that? What proof do you have of that?
The proof. Mossad, in a Persian statement, said that they have people on the ground. Pompeo, in a tweet, said that Mossad is on the ground. Pompeo, in an interview on, I think, Channel 13 or 15 in Israel, said the CIA is on the ground. More importantly, Channel 14 in Israel, which is close to Netanyahu, said that foreign intelligence agencies brought in the weapons to kill the hundreds of police officers.
Whether or not there are,
your government and your media will not say this to the people.
Whether or not
the footage is there.
Whether or not there are agents on the ground, you have no proof of anybody being armed. And further, there is significant proof that the Iranian regime was responsible for the deaths not of 3,000 people, but of tens of thousands of young people who were, in many cases, shot in the back, shot at close range. Some people were even killed inside hospitals where they had been seeking treatment. What do you say to that?
Well, you're lying, of course, and you're producing propaganda. And I think increasingly Western media is just propaganda. Tens of thousands of people. That's exactly what you and your regime have helped Israelis do in Gaza. And your drones were gathering intelligence during the whole period of the Gaza genocide. You're responsible for a Holocaust. You're partners in this Holocaust. So you need to deflect attention. You need to project on the Iranians what you actually do. But why is it, if the Iranian regime, as you love to call it, and it makes you feel better, why is it that the Iranian regime has so many millions of people supporting it on the streets every day?
Are there any people? Are there any people who oppose
your missile strike?
Are there any people who oppose the regime?
Strikes.
Are there any people who oppose the regime inside Iran?
Of course there are, but overwhelmingly people support it, and that's why you've lost this war, and that's why ultimately you're going to face the consequences, because the Strait of Hormuz is shut. And it's because of your policies and the policies of your overlords in Washington that the global economy is going to go downhill. And Iran is going to continue to hammer U.S. assets in the Persian Gulf because of this unprovoked aggression. You carry out war after war. You destroyed Iraq. You destroyed Afghanistan. You destroyed Libya. You're strangling Cuba. You've destroyed Yemen. Iran is a bridge too far. You're messing with the wrong people. You will see in the weeks ahead whether you succeed or not.
How much longer can Iran sustain the closure of the Strait of Hormuz?
Indefinitely.
Because it harms your economy too, doesn't it?
For us, it is a fight for survival. For you, it is a fight to sustain the Epstein class and ethno-supremacism in Palestine.
Why do you keep bringing up? Why do you bring up Jeffrey Epstein in this context? What's the logical leap there?
It's very clear. It's very clear what class of people are in charge in your countries. That class of people are the people who have control. They're the ones who own the media. They're the ones who control the government. They are the ones who start unprovoked wars time after time. This is not the first war that you've imposed upon this region, or Iran for that matter. And we just saw yesterday a key American anti-terrorist official resigned, saying the truth that we all knew, but you tried to hide. And that is, Iran was no threat to the United States, and that this war was carried out because of the Israeli regime and its powerful lobby. So what I'm saying is basically what he is saying. That powerful lobby is the Epstein class.
Do you ever worry that people might struggle to take you seriously with phrases, language, conspiracy theories like that?
Well, that intelligence officer basically said what I am saying. And I think that people don't really take you seriously. And as time goes on and you continue to help B-52 bombers, carpet bomb Tehran and people in this neighborhood, and they're seriously dead. Take that seriously. They die. You don't care, but we do.
What's the way out here? What's the way out here, Professor? How does this end? What's the way out?
A strategic defeat to the United States under Trump.
And what does that look like?
You'll see in the weeks ahead.
Is there a deal possible? Is there a chance of talks between the two sides at this point?
No, not at all. We will fight, and we'll hold the U.S. by the throat through the Strait of Hormuz, and we'll continue to hammer them. And if they try to do anything on the ground, then they'll really see what we can do. You've messed with the wrong country. Your propaganda doesn't work anymore. And the Iranian people have shown their resolve. They'll see this through. What you've done to the Palestinian people, to the Iraqi people, to the Cuban people,
finally,
to the Venezuelan people,
we are running out of time. We are running out of time.
To the Iranian people.
Can I ask you about the new Ayatollah? There are reports here that he is dead, that he was killed in an attack that killed his father. Have you any proof that he is alive and well?
You can make all the claims that you want. After all, that's what Western media does.
No, it was a simple question. I'm just asking whether there's any proof. Not everything's a trick. I'm asking whether there's any proof that he is still alive. There are some reports he's dead. Yes, there are some reports that he's in Russia seeking treatment. Is he in the country and is he alive and well?
That's a ridiculous claim to say that he's in Russia seeking treatment, or he's dead in Iran, or he was killed already. That just shows that these are just your narratives. He's leading the country, and the U.S. empire is collapsing, and the world has turned against you, and your regime is part of the carpet bombing. You helped the carpet bombing in Tehran and across the country, and the world will not forget what you did. And the world will not forget your propagandists either.
Professor Mohammad Marandi, Professor of English Literature in the University of Tehran. Many thanks for taking the time to join us there from Tehran.
What made that exchange so striking is that it stopped functioning like a normal interview almost immediately. Instead of stepping into the role most guests accept, Professor Marandi challenged the structure of the conversation itself. The reporter approached it as a traditional news discussion where she controlled the framing and guided the narrative through questions. Marandi refused to operate inside that framework from the very beginning. And to be fair, the interviewer stayed composed throughout. She kept pressing forward, stayed measured, and continued, trying to steer the discussion back toward the format she came prepared for. But the moment he redirected attention toward the media system itself, the entire atmosphere changed. The conversation stopped feeling procedural and started feeling like a direct ideological confrontation. That is the key difference people are reacting to online. He was not trying to deliver a polished diplomatic performance. He was trying to break the expected rhythm of the interview and create moments that would survive outside the broadcast itself. In the current media landscape, especially on social platforms, impact often matters more than balance. The clips that spread are usually the ones that disrupt expectations, generate tension, and force people into arguments afterward. And when the discussion moved toward the Epstein comparison, you could see another strategic shift happen in real time. Instead of staying trapped inside a debate over the comparison itself, he redirected toward recent events and political developments tied to American policy. That move pulled the discussion away from abstraction and anchored it in something current and tangible, which made his broader point harder to dismiss outright, even for people who disagreed with his framing. What you really watched here was two completely different understandings of journalism colliding head-on. One side treated the interview as a fact-based institutional discussion. The other treated it as a battle over narrative power, legitimacy, and who gets to define reality in front of the audience. That shift in the conversation mattered, because once an argument becomes attached to a recent and verifiable event, the entire dynamic changes. In a live interview, there is very little time to dissect complicated claims in real time. So grounding an argument in something current gives it immediate force whether people ultimately agree with it or not. The reporter could challenge the interpretation, but she could not instantly erase the underlying event itself, and that gave his position momentum inside the moment. The discussion around the Strait of Hormuz pushed the stakes even higher. The interviewer framed the issue through economics and regional stability, But Marandi answered from an entirely different perspective. He presented the situation less as a strategic calculation and more as a question of national survival. That distinction changes the emotional gravity of the exchange because audiences tend to interpret survival-based rhetoric very differently from standard geopolitical analysis. And when references to Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, and Yemen entered the discussion, the argument gained additional weight simply because those conflicts are real. Historical touchpoints people already associate with instability, intervention, and long-term consequences. Whether someone agrees with his conclusions or not, invoking those wars immediately places the current conflict inside a broader historical memory that many viewers already carry with them. The most revealing moment may have been the discussion about negotiations and resolution. There was no cautious diplomatic phrasing, no strategic ambiguity, and no attempt to soften the position being presented. The certainty itself became part of the message. In high-pressure geopolitical conversations, absolute confidence communicates something powerful to audiences because it signals that the speaker sees the conflict as fundamentally unresolved rather than approaching compromise. But the larger significance of the interview goes beyond any individual claim that was made. What the exchange really exposed is how much the authority structure of traditional media has changed. For decades, televised interviews relied on an understood hierarchy. The journalist controlled the framework. The guest operated inside it, and the audience largely accepted that arrangement. That structure no longer holds the same unquestioned power it once did. Today, audiences consume information from countless competing platforms, perspectives, and independent voices simultaneously. Because of that, guests are increasingly willing to challenge not just the questions being asked, but the legitimacy of the framework itself. And once that happens, the interview stops being a simple exchange of information and becomes a struggle over who gets to define credibility in the eyes of the audience. That is why moments like this spread so quickly online. One side enters expecting a conventional interview. The other arrives treating the interview itself as the battlefield. And when those expectations collide publicly, the result becomes bigger than the original broadcast.